First off, I would like to thank everyone for having me here at Austin College. It's a great university. I've sat in on several classes in the last couple of days. I've been able to interact with some of the faculty and some of the students. And it's been very interesting coming up here. Uh, I graduated from Baylor University, so college is always a great thing to me. Sick'em Bears, you know, we're doing well right now, even though the college football committee is, they're not really giving us the love we deserve. But um, when I was approached about giving a keynote speech and I read what it was about, I wasn't exactly clear, to determine, the role of private and government help, I wouldn't say help, but resources in, helping needing communities. And the one reason I wasn't exactly clear is because Workshop Houston is 100% privately funded. And, you don't really hear that too often. We are a small organization. And I was like, we don't really work with the governments often. But when I was thinking about it, I'm an avid reader. And one of my favorite, most influential books of all time is the autobiography of Malcolm X. And I read that when I was younger, and Malcolm and myself, our lives parallel often. Uh, I'm from South Central Los Angeles. I don't know if you know much about that, but it is a great community. It has gone through a lot of different transitions and changes. I grew up in the 80s. In the 80s, crack cocaine ran rampant, and it affected a lot of people. I didn't really know too many parents who weren't addicted to crack cocaine, including mine. And being in an environment like that, I didn't realize that I was poor until I actually left my community. And, we dealt with the resources that we had. One of the things, to speak up about government involvement in societal issues is that, I was a child of food stamps and government assistance. And as a child, I was thankful that we were able to eat and have things at times, and at times I didn't. I was also homeless. But it caused me to figure, why are these people doing this for us? Do they feel sorry for us? What is this about? It's not like they were giving us T-bone steaks and these other things, like we got the bear. And I understand, it's like you didn't necessarily have to get that, but as a child, I didn't understand that. So when I grew up and I got older, it was even more things, not just food. It was other things in my life that I didn't have resources to help me do the things that I wanted to do. My parents had an illness. At the time, I didn't understand that they had an illness. I just thought that they loved drugs more than they loved myself, or loved me, excuse me. So I went to jail at age 11. And I know you guys are like, whoa, age 11? Yeah, age 11. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Basically, what I was thinking was I was 11 years old and I was bored. I didn't have anything to do. My parents weren't around. And certain people were like, hey, let's go steal some cars. And I said, okay. That's what an 11-year-old thinks at times. I don't know why, again. And I ended up in jail, and I was facing 2 felonies and upwards to 5 years in prison. Well, not prison, the California Youth Authority as a child. And that was a big wake-up call for me at age 11 because I was always a nerd, always. I was around people who I thought I was supposed to be like and certain things I thought I was supposed to do, but I was always a nerd. Bill Nye, I love Bill Nye the Science Guy, still love Bill Nye. Those things, and not having my parents in my life and kind of going to jail, they left because, and this is kind of real reality, the drug man was kind of after my parents. They owed him money. So they kind of left me in jail by myself, and other family members had to just come get me. And it really changed my perception on the resources that I need and how can I help myself. What can I do to help myself? So the title of this speech is called Inspiration Through Opportunity, Why We Don't Need Your Help, in quotations. And the reason I say that is because a little while back, I run Workshop Houston, and we're located in the 3rd Ward. 3rd Ward is a great community, but it is similar to South Central. It's a historically African-American community. And often people will come to me and they will ask, how can we help? How can we help? You know? And I think about that. What does that even mean? And like I said earlier, the autobiography of Malcolm X is one of my favorite books. And there's a point in the book where Malcolm is at Harvard University, and he's giving a lecture, and a young white woman comes up to him, and she basically asks the same thing. She says, how can I help? And Malcolm's a little offended by that, and he responds to her kind of coldly. He says, nothing. And it really hurt her because, she said, I want to do something. I understand that some people who look like me have been prejudiced, they have been racist, and they have done, atrocities to your people, and I'm not like that. I want to help you. And he didn't give any further explanation, and she went about her business. So later on in the story, he goes back and he kind of regrets that situation. He says that he wishes he could have talked to her again and explained what he meant by help. By doing nothing. And the thing that she didn't understand, and one of the things that Malcolm kind of looked at, you may have good intentions, however, you may be a part of the problem. You may be a part of the problem why these things exist in the first place. And the reason I bring that up is because, and this is not a knock on Rice University, I'm actually going to be working with Rice University, but they have this program called Urban Immersion. Urban Immersion is, Rice University, it's it's one of the top schools in the nation. The students who attend that school, they come from well-privileged backgrounds. And they bring these students from all over Texas and other parts of the country into the Houston community, and they want to immerse them in urban culture. And by doing that, which I don't have a problem with, but their way of doing it was, let's go for a day or two, and let's go, cut some grass and paint some gates. And I was like, nah, that's ridiculous. I said, how about I grab a bunch of my students, we get in a van, and we come to your neighborhoods and just jump out and cut grass and paint fences. We'll probably get arrested, That's not a good look. You're not going to really learn about, the Third Ward or the people there. And, I guess they said no one really approached us like that, And I said, I understand what you're trying to do, but you have to understand at Workshop Houston, and in my belief, all nonprofit organizations should be providing resources. Because the resources that you're providing are not just, helping that community, it's helping you as well. We're an art program. Our students could be like me. They could be like Reginald. They could go out and steal cars because they had nothing to do. Now our students are creating things. They're building things. They're doing music. They're doing fashion. They're doing all these really cool things that just not in the Third Ward, it's affecting people throughout the city. Our students have been featured at the Museum of Fine Arts. Our students have been on local television shows. They have their own music videos. Our bikes have been featured in our big art car parades. The biggest parade in Houston or in Texas. We've been on local radio. We've been all over. So those are the things that we're trying to do. We're trying to provide these resources. And I was in a panel earlier today, which was a great panel. And one of the things I heard often was that there are a lot of nonprofit organizations all trying to vie for the same resources. And one thing that I want to talk about, the relationship between private and government in the private field. Sometimes people believe that a nonprofit is, I want to do something, I want to help, I want to start a nonprofit. I always tell people that before you try to start a nonprofit, you should go volunteer at one. Your services matter. And I think that's essentially what I did. I did not start Workshop Houston. I started as a staff member. And I just started this educational thing because I was working in the schools, and every single thing that they did was teach kids how to take tests. And I understand we all have to be tested in life, but you shouldn't be taught just how to take the test. Where's the creativity? Where's the imagination? What goes on to that? You give a student an open-ended question with no A, B, and C, and they don't know what to do with their hands. And we wanted to change that. I definitely wanted to change that, and that's exactly what I do, or what I did at Workshop Houston. I sacrificed. I did everything. I moved into our abandoned building in the back of Workshop Houston. I broke my lease. I did these things, not because I wanted to help these people, it's because I saw myself within this community. I saw what I did, and I know the resources that I obtained by going to Baylor and getting my college education was going to matter and was going to be there. And I worked really hard, and today I've become, the executive director of Workshop Houston. And one of the things that I try to do, I'm a little different. I've been questioned, well, what can you do? What are some of the things that you guys do? In the nonprofit industry, you really have to realize that, yeah, it's nonprofit and it's a lot of stigmas and stereotypes that go along with that. But it is, I run Workshop Houston like a business. And people don't want to talk about this, but nonprofits, there is competition. That's just the reality of our industry. We often try to collaborate with others, and we do. However, you cannot rely on governments and government industries to provide funds, even privately. One of the biggest things that I've tried to do running Workshop Houston is to create something that not just people inside the Third Ward community will want to use, but others will want to use, and that will pay for our services. We have a recording studio that other people who come outside of the Third Ward, they actually pay for, adults. And the same thing with our fashion program and our engineering program. People want to build things. So I would say when we're working in these industries and nonprofits are looking for different ways to bring in funds, you have to find a way to bring in your own profit. And that's one of the biggest things that we've been doing to bring in that. In addition, we have 2 large fundraisers. We have a holiday party that's coming up, and we have a luncheon in the spring. And we're able to have such large events because we cultivate the people who are interested in our programs. We speak with them. We make them a part of our organization. One of the things I've also done, I try to be as modern and up-to-date as possible. I work with teens, so they're all on Instagram. They're all on Facebook. I learned about something the other day, Yik Yak. What's that? That was crazy. Woo! I heard about Yik Yak. Whoa. I hope I don't end up if I end up on Yik Yak, I'm gonna be really upset. No. But yeah, you have to, that's some of the things that we've been trying to do with our organization, and it's been a privilege being able to do that. And I just wanted to make everything palpable, something that people can touch, people can understand. Everyone wants to make a difference, but just like in the story with Malcolm and the woman, how can you help? What can you do? Sometimes you have to ask yourself, how can you help yourself? What can you do as a person? Maybe you have contributed to some of these issues. What is going on? And that's exactly how I viewed myself. When I went to the Third Ward community, I didn't just work there and I went home. I totally moved in. I stayed in the Third Ward community. I got to learn about the people there, and they respected me. They would come talk to me. I hung out at their clubs. I did the same thing when I was in college at Baylor. There's a thing at Baylor, and people keep talking about, well, Sherman's small and this. It's like, well, you guys haven't been to Waco. Waco's just a bigger version of Sherman. And I love Waco. And the reason I say that is because when I was at Baylor, we would go do volunteers, kind of like what Rice did. We would go do one-day type things. And we worked at a middle school one time, and it was African-American middle school, predominantly African-American middle school. And this was with my fraternity. And I'm in a predominantly, historically African-American fraternity. And we would go and we would talk to the students, and we're like, hey, you can do everything. We want to help you guys out. You can go to college. You can go to Baylor. And they said, no, we can't. And we said, why? Like, because we're black. Whoa. Wait, don't you see me with a Baylor shirt? I'm black, right? Like, you can go to school. Like, we go there. But then I kept listening to what they were saying, and it was a thing about, no, you type of black people who are from outside of this community can go to Baylor, but it's not for those here. It was a big divide. There was a big divide. You had Waco, Texas, and then you had Baylor, Texas. And that was a big problem. There was no connection. And I think once I heard that, I said, you know what, I have to do better. And I really got myself involved in the Waco community, not just out, doing certain things. I mean, I got to know people. I was at the like raunchiest clubs, all sorts of crazy stuff. But I was in Waco, and I was being a part of the community. And that's the same thing I've done at Workshop Houston. I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, and I'll never just claim Houston because that's not my city, but I'll always claim Third Ward. That is a part of me. Waco is a part of me. So back to the topic at hand, the relationships for me, it's hard to determine the relationship between private and government as relates to helping societal needs because we are an organization that runs on 100% private funds. But as I can say, as a youth growing up, governments, they're just going to do the bare minimum at times, you know, because they have a lot of people to serve. So nonprofits are needed, but I think the problem lies that we're not collaborating enough. You know, we're not understanding how how a lot of our missions are very, very similar. Because if we don't do that, we're just going to have more and more and more nonprofits come up, and it's going to have, you know, and less and less and less resources to get to those nonprofits. And then it's going to cause more competition. And then the people who truly want those resources is going to be a problem to get it to them. So that's the main thing that I try to do and what we try to do at Workshop Houston. Just try to provide resources for people to create on their own. That way the people can look at them and say, you know what, I did this. You know, I just used this here. You didn't necessarily help me because you don't necessarily even know me. You know, I was able to create this on my own and do the best I can, and it's a relationship now. I heard in the panel and just the talks I've been here, it's all about relationships. It's building those relationships and not looking down at someone. And I think sometimes when you help someone or you do something, that's the relationship. It's almost like I helped you, now you owe me this praise or something. I don't ever have that praise when it comes to our students at Workshop Houston. It's an honor and it's a privilege. Just like when Dr. Dryberg contacted me about doing this speech, you know, I said, wow, you know, I just yell at kids all day. I'm not really used to just going and talking about my organization, but, you know, the nonprofit industry means so much to me, and I was willing to do what it takes. And I'm receiving just as much from you all as hopefully you guys are taking from me. So, I mean, that's the main thing. I don't want to speak too long because I'm more interactive about some of the things that I want to talk about, but that's the relationship that goes on at Workshop Houston, and that's kind of the main thing that I want to get across in my speech today. So thank you very much, and I would love to answer questions.